Greetings, one and all, and welcome to the first episode of our third season of Time Traveler, the 1940s. Thank you for joining us, or me, as it were, because I do everything. So glad to welcome everyone back and to have a new season. I hope everyone enjoyed my new series that I debuted last month, Suspense. I'm very excited to continue dipping into the world of classic radio shows and sharing that via The Sims 4. It was a lot of fun to make, even though it was quite a bit of work. I don't envy machinima makers whatsoever, but it really was quite a passion project, a labor of love. I enjoyed it. So I'm hoping that you're very excited about today's video. As far as the Time Traveler series, I've decided to start doing a slightly different format. We're still going to make the sim, and we're still going to build their home. This time it's going to be an entire house in a small track where there's going to be a few select guests. Today's guest is probably my all-time favorite actress. I've always thought she was the most beautiful woman that ever lived. And I'm going to say up front that I don't feel it's possible to capture her face in The Sims 4. I probably made 4 different versions of her and tried to put them together. But truly, her classic overbite, her beautiful jaw and cheek structure, her very unique eyes, and of course her hair, which I never use CC, so maybe that's my fault. I just wasn't able to capture her level of beauty. Don't get me wrong, the sim is very pretty. It's also got a very similar body, but nothing is as beautiful, I think, as the real thing. And the real thing today is the one and only, absolutely stunning and very talented Miss Gene Tierney. Gene Tierney was born Jean Eliza Tierney on November 19, 1920 in New York City to Howard Sherwood Tierney and Bella Lavinia Taylor. She was named after a much-loved uncle named Gene, who died at a young age. Gene had an older brother named Howard Sherwood Tierney Jr., known as Butch, and a younger sister, Patricia Tierney, affectionately known as Pat. Howard descended from Irish heritage and had a successful career as an insurance broker. Mother Belle was a former physical education instructor. Tierney grew up in Westport, Connecticut, attending St. Margaret's School in Waterbury, Connecticut, and the Unquowa School in Fairfield, Connecticut. She had an interest in poetry and published her first poem, Night, in the school magazine. She continued to write poetry occasionally throughout her life. Jean was turned on to acting while in school, playing the role of Jo in Little Women, based on the book by Louisa May Alcott. Tierney spent 2 years in Lausanne, Switzerland, attending the Brillenmont International School. While there, she learned to speak French fluently and received a well-rounded education. She returned home to the United States in 1936 and continued her school career at Miss Porter's School in Farmington, Connecticut. Shortly before her 18th birthday, Jean took a trip to the West Coast with her family. While there, the family visited her mother's cousin, Gordon Hollingshead, who worked as a producer for Warner Brothers Studios. One of the directors there, Anatoly Litvak, was utterly smitten with the beautiful 17-year-old Tierney and immediately began trying to convince her parents that she should become an actress. Warner Brothers was willing to offer her a contract, but it was for very little money, and her parents decided that it would not be a wise choice for her. They were also concerned with having Jean make her debut in society, which she did on September 24, 1938. Although she debuted as the perfectly polished epitome of Connecticut society, Jean became bored very easily with the highbrow life and turned her thoughts back to life as an actress. Mr. Tierney felt that if Jean was to get into acting, that she would do it in a legitimate theater, and so Miss Tierney began studying acting in New York City at a small Greenwich Village studio. She quickly became the protege of Broadway producer-director George Abbott. Miss Tierney began her extensive career on Broadway, carrying a bucket of water across the stage in What a Life, 1938. Variety magazine made note of her beauty despite her brief appearance on stage. She also took on an understudy role in The Primrose Path that same year. In 1939, Tierney appeared as Molly O'Day in the Broadway production Mrs. O'Brien Entertains. Also in 1939, Gene played Peggy Carr in Ring 2. A critic from the New York Herald Tribune noted that Miss Tierney would likely have an interesting theatrical career if cinema did not kidnap her away. Later in 1939, Columbia Pictures signed her to a 6-month contract. Gene's father supported her, even setting up a corporate fund to promote her career. While at Columbia, she met the very wealthy Howard Hughes, who was trying his hand at film directing. He attempted to seduce her and failed, but the pair became lifelong friends. As is common in Hollywood, the beautiful young woman was addressed by a cameraman who told her she would need to lose a little weight. She decided to follow his advice and began a Harper's Bazaar diet that she maintained for the following 25 years. Tierney was offered the lead role in National Velvet, but a delay in production left her with no work, so she returned to Broadway to play a starring role in The Male Animal in 1940. It was a critical and commercial success. The 20-year-old was a hit and found herself featured in Life, Harper's Bazaar, and Vogue magazines. 2 weeks after the show opened, the head of 20th Century Fox was said to have been in the audience. She gave the best performance of her career to date, and later that evening, Daryl Zanuck offered her a contract. Once Tierney signed on at 20th Century Fox, she was able to make her film debut in the supporting female role of a Fritz Lang Western called The Return of Frank James in 1940. She played opposite Henry Fonda as Eleanor Stone. Next, she played a small role in the 1941 film Hudson's Bay, followed by a John Ford comedy called Tobacco Road, also in 1941. She finally landed a lead as the title role in Belle Starr in 1942. Larger parts continued to come her way in 1942 in such films as Sundown, The Shanghai Gesture, and Son of Fury, The Story of Benjamin Blake, including a dual role as Susan Miller and Linda Worthington in screwball comedy Rings on Her Fingers. She ended a very busy year with Thunderbirds and China Girl. Her big break came with the 1943 role of Martha Strabel Van Cleve in Heaven Can Wait. Director Ernst Lubitsch proved to be somewhat of a tyrant, shouting throughout the entire day and nearly putting Tierney in tears. She approached him and let him know that she could not work under such conditions. He responded by saying that he was paid to shout. Gene didn't miss a beat and said, "And I'm paid to take it, but not enough." After an uncomfortable pause, Lubitsch laughed. From that moment on, they had a mutual respect that culminated in a strong film. Tierney's rise as a mysterious and striking leading lady had begun. Her most memorable role was as the title character in Laura. It was a film noir hit in 1944, directed by Otto Preminger. Playing opposite a debonair Vincent Price, which she would do in several films, and a smart and attractive Dana Andrews, Tierney dazzled as a feminine and independent young woman whom men fought over. A portrait of her was used in the film, a photograph of Gene, which was painted over to have the appearance of a painted portrait. It was so stunning that the men who saw the portrait in the film instantly fell in love with her. In 1945, Tierney appeared in A Belle for Adano, followed by her role as a jealous femme fatale in Leave Her to Heaven. This performance earned her an Academy Award nomination for Best Actress and brought enormous success to 20th Century Fox. Leave Her to Heaven was their most successful film of the decade. During this time, Gene was also busy endorsing war bonds and tending her victory garden, as well as gracing the cover of countless magazines amid the daily news of World War II. In 1946, she starred in Dragonwyck and The Razor's Edge. Critics raved over her talented performances. In 1947, Miss Tierney played opposite Rex Harrison in The Ghost and Mrs. Muir, a paranormal romance. Then she changed direction and worked on the 1948 screwball comedy The Wonderful Urge. At this time in Tierney's career, she was considered an equal to other sirens of the era, like Lana Turner and Rita Hayworth. She was deemed the most beautiful woman in movie history. Many of her 1940s films became instant classics. At the end of the decade, Gene reunited with Preminger to star in a film noir called Whirlpool, which was released in 1950. She went on to star in 2 more film noir projects that year, Night and the City and Where the Sidewalk Ends, with dear old friend Dana Andrews, with whom she co-starred in multiple films. 20th Century Fox let Tierney do some work for Paramount Pictures in The Mating Season, and later, Warner Brothers used her talent in Close to My Heart, both filmed in 1951. Several people who heard Miss Tierney speak at the beginning of her career said that her voice was something akin to Angry Minnie Mouse. So she decided that she would take up smoking to help her lower her speaking voice. In addition to her smoking, Gene had serious personal issues that began to spill into her concentration at work during her rise to fame in the 1940s. She suffered from manic depression, now known as bipolar disorder, and was prone to depression when her personal affairs were in turmoil. Her adult life became a roller coaster of emotions just as she reached adulthood. In 1941, when Tierney was still only 20 years old, she married famous fashion designer Oleg Cassini. It was a tumultuous relationship which brought 2 daughters into the world. The tragedy in Gene's life began when she contracted rubella from a fan while pregnant with her first child, Antoinette Daria Cassini, in 1943. The little girl was born deaf and severely mentally handicapped. Gene was noticeably distracted on set while dealing with her daughter's disabilities. Tierney's good friend, Howard Hughes, paid for all of her daughter's medical expenses, a grand gesture which she never forgot. Gene and Oleg had a second daughter in 1948 named Christina Cassini, affectionately known as Tina. The couple divorced the same year, and although they made an attempt to reunite, they split permanently in 1952. During the 1946 break in their marriage, Tierney met John F. Kennedy, who was visiting the set of Dragonwyck. They had a brief romance, but Kennedy let Gene know that marriage was not an option for them due to his political aspirations. The finality of her failed marriage to Cassini pushed Tierney into a dark place, and she began to forget lines and lose her composure on set. In 1952, Tierney made Way of a Gaucho, and then her contract with 20th Century Fox expired. She moved on to MGM and starred in Plymouth Adventure opposite Spencer Tracy. Gene and Spencer had a brief affair during this period of her life. In 1953, she appeared in Never Let Me Go opposite Clark Gable and filming in England. Tierney remained in Europe and filmed Personal Affair later in 1953. While in Europe, she began a romance with Pakistani Prince Ali Khan. They got as far as marriage plans, but the prince's father opposed the union vehemently. Gene returned to the United States to co-star in another film noir, Black Widow, in 1954. Tierney's concentration issues forced her to give up her role in Mogambo to be replaced by Grace Kelly. She starred opposite Humphrey Bogart in The Left Hand of God in 1955. He fed her lines during filming to aid her with her loss of concentration. He also encouraged Gene to get help for her mental illness. He spoke from experience since his sister, Pat, had suffered from mental illness for several years. Tierney found a psychiatrist to help her and was promptly admitted to Harkness Pavilion in New York City. Soon after her stay there, she was moved to the Institute of Living in Hartford, Connecticut, where she received around 27 shock treatments to treat her severe depression. She escaped from the facility but was caught and taken back to the hospital. She eventually became an opponent of shock treatment, speaking out about its negative effects on memory. In December of 1957, Tierney was at her mother's Manhattan apartment when she decided to step onto a ledge 14 stories above the ground and remained there for roughly 20 minutes. The police were called, and it was considered a suicide attempt. After the event, her family decided to admit her to the Menninger Clinic in Topeka, Kansas. She received treatment for a year and was finally released. Gene wanted to be part of society again, so she took a job as a salesgirl at a dress shop. Before long, a customer recognized Tierney, and newspaper headlines sensationalized the sighting of the beautiful star, and she had to switch gears and return to her Hollywood life. In mid to late 1958, 20th Century Fox offered Gene a lead role in Holiday for Lovers, which hit theaters in 1959 without Gene. The stress was too much for her, having been recently institutionalized, so she dropped out of the film in the first week and returned to Menninger for respite. The 1960s saw a comeback for Tierney. She starred in Advise and Consent in 1962 opposite Friend Show Tone. It was another chance to work with director Otto Preminger. Her mental health was stable, and she completed the film without incident. She began work on Toys in the Attic, based on a play by Lillian Hellman. The film was released in 1963. Soon after, Tierney was back in her element as Jane Barton in The Pleasure Seekers in 1964, which would end up being her final film on the silver screen. But seemingly without warning, she announced her retirement. This was not final, however, because she returned in the television movie Daughter of the Mind in 1969. Her final television performance was in a TV miniseries called Scruples in 1980. Shortly after her return to society in 1958, Tierney met Texas oil baron Howard Lee. He was previously married to Hedy Lamarr, but had divorced in early 1960. They were married in Aspen, Colorado on July 11, 1960, and settled down in Houston, Texas. When she was coaxed back to Hollywood, she appeared in a General Electric theater broadcast, during which she found out that she was pregnant. A short time later, 20th Century Fox gave Tierney a lead role in Return to Peyton Place, but she was forced to leave the production after suffering from a miscarriage. In later years, the couple moved to Delray Beach, Florida, and remained there until Howard's death in 1981. Daughter Daria lived until 2010, after spending most of her life at the Elwyn facility in Pennsylvania. She lived a modest life, but was once able to snag a small role in the film Bagno Maria in 1999. Tierney's daughter Christina died penniless in Paris in 2015. Her father had supported her throughout her life, but once he was deceased, his widow, Marianne Nestor, refused to give Christina access to her inheritance. The mother of four battled ovarian cancer as long as she could and passed away, having never seen the $1 million her father bequeathed her. Tierney made a few appearances on television talk shows and wrote an autobiography titled Self-Portrait, which was published in 1979. Gene Tierney died of emphysema 13 days before her 71st birthday on November 6, 1991, after 10 fairly private and solitary years. This is where our story ends for today. I hope you've enjoyed the new video format with the full house for each of our guests, and I hope you enjoyed Gene Tierney's story. As I said in the beginning, she is my favorite actress of classic film. I've always thought she was quite beautiful and striking and just very classy, carried herself with amazing grace. And I enjoy watching her films. I own several of them. I will, as usual, be including several clips of films that she's made and appearances throughout her life. A few interviews from 1979 when she launched her autobiography. They're still in pretty good condition, and I think you'll enjoy those as well. And full films available on YouTube for you to see. Definitely check them out. In particular, Laura, if you can get your hands on it. I'm pretty sure that one's not anywhere for free. I do own that one. And Leave Her to Heaven, I know, is on YouTube for free. I have placed the link in the description. I hope you'll check it out. I think you'll be surprised at the depth of the story, and it's just remarkable acting. She's just such a powerful force on the screen. I hope you'll spend some time looking at those, possibly reading her autobiography. There are quite a few little details that were not included today. As usual, we can't have every single detail from a person's full life. She did suffer quite a bit, but in the end, she was a very positive person, and she took everything in stride, and there's a lot to be learned from her class and her amazing grace in her life. So before I repeat myself yet again and say how she has class and grace, I'm going to leave you here in her lovely living room. Again, I could not do her justice. She's just too stunning. I'm sure you've seen all these photos that I've inserted, just how striking she was. Just something very unique about this actress. So I wanted to start the series with her. You can look forward to probably 4 or 5 more guests in the 1940 series, because each of them will get their own house on this track. Hi, Gene. So I hope you look forward to those. I will also be launching a new episode of Suspense, the classic radio show, Sims 4 style. In just a few weeks, I'm going to be going away, possibly, I hope, for 2 weeks to celebrate my birthday back home in New York. So looking forward to that, but I also will be doing minimal work on videos during that time. I do already have that next Suspense episode started. Oh, she's taken out the trash. Look at how humble she is. I do have that video started, and I know which episode I'm doing, and I think you're going to love it. So stay tuned for that. That will probably come out possibly in late July, but most definitely by the first week in August. That will be out. I'm going to work as hard as I can for the next week and a half before I leave to see if I can get that out for you. Thank you all for your support, for always being here for me, and for sticking around for all my vintage fun. I'm not tired of it yet. I'm going to keep pushing. We're approaching year 3 of the Simstress channel, and I'm very excited to see what comes next. I hope everybody has an absolutely wonderful week and enjoy your summer. Until next time, I hope that you are happy, safe, and healthy, and that you have a beautiful day.